Let's listen.
The Look's first gig was November 17th, 1977. I always like to ask the artists about venues. What venue was that first show at, and what other venues did you play around the Detroit area?
Yeah, you mentioned the first gig of The Look. It was November 17th, 1977, and it was at Abigail's Saloon in Ypsilanti. And I remember Bruce Lorfell, when we were playing the first few songs, we did a song called Baby Do You Want Me To, and he just ran up to the stage and said, "Who wrote that song? Who wrote that song?" And I said, "I did." He says, "Oh, this is great." And after that, we used to play the Second Chance in Ann Arbor. Everybody played there, man. It was like national acts. I mean, you'd have the Ramones there, Patti Smith, but we ended up being there a lot. And then I played, the biggest places I played in Detroit were the Silverdome for Pope John Paul II in 1987. And I played twice outside in the parking lot at the Silverdome. I played Cobo Hall, Hart Plaza about 10 times, Royal Oak Theater. We actually played a lot of places around the country. We would go to Canada, go to Toronto, and things like that. But yeah, what other bars? I'm trying to think here. Some of the bars are gone. I used to play the Haylofts. People know about those.
The first Look album came out in 1981. We're Gonna Rock, with that incredible power pop song that probably changed everything for you guys. But tell me about, because MTV launches August 1st, 1981. Here we are kicking off. It's the Moon Man puts down the flag on the moon, and MTV has begun. And you guys were pretty much the first Detroit band to have a video on MTV, and you took advantage of the power of MTV. Talk about how that went down. I mean, I've read that your manager got the video to MTV, and I think you recorded it in Canada, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, the first album was released on April Fool's Day, 1981. I always thought that was pretty funny. But we were on MTV in August and September of 1981, and Bruce had sent our video, which was recorded in London, Ontario, at a club called Fry Fogels. Somebody got a hold of me online recently about that club. They were saying, "Do you ever play there?" And I said, "Yeah." But anyways, MTV was. We did the very first spring break party in Florida, and then we came. There was another. There was a party at the University of Toledo. It was called the MTV Night Out, and that's when we met Alan Hunter. Alan Hunter, nice guy. Then we played another MTV party. It was in Mount Clemens, and there was Huey Lewis was there. We were there. Some of the MTV VJs were there. Martha Quinn, J.J. Jackson. But these guys didn't want anything to do. All he wanted to do was meet Steve Costan from WRAF. So yeah, the MTV really helped us a lot. We got out of town. We played in California, played in Texas, Cleveland, all over the country because of MTV.
The second album comes out, Look Again, in 1982, again with another power pop, catchy hit. You Can't Sit Down. I love the beginning with the clapping. Great song. Talk about, how did that video do on MTV? And it was rated a 94 out of 100 by Dick Clark and American Bandstand. Did you get invited to do that song on American Bandstand?
Yeah, the video for You Can't Sit Down came out in September of 82. And somehow Bruce got it over to American Bandstand, and they played it. Dick Clark had it on there, and we got a 94. It was really cool. They never did ask us to be on the show, though. That would have been even cooler, because I know a couple of my friends were on that show. And it would have been nice, but Dick didn't ask. His loss.
In the 1980s, you guys toured with some incredible bands. I mean, bands like Cheap Trick, John Mellencamp, Nazareth, Humble Pie, Joe Cocker, The Kinks. It's an amazing list. Any good stories from the road?
Yeah, we toured with a lot of people, did a lot of shows. I mean, it wasn't back-to-back tours and stuff like that. We played with Cheap Trick. Those guys were real nice. I remember meeting those guys at the Second Chance in Ann Arbor. And Joe Cocker, he was real nice. We both got bad reviews in the Free Press. I don't know why, because we were really good that night. But he heard that I was down and out about it, so he invited me to his dressing room and said, hey, go get Dave. And so I walked in, he goes, so they didn't like you either? Because they didn't like him either, and this review was pretty bad. And he said, oh, don't worry about it. He actually said, F them. And here, would you like a beer? And I've had some other, Stevie Marriott, Humble Pie, he was a real drinker, and he liked to do drugs too, but he was a nice guy, a really nice guy. And I remember they used to tell me to get out of the way. If we were standing on the side of the stage, he would gob. And that, for Americans, that's called spit. And they used to spit, and the roadies would say, get out of the way, don't stand there. And I never could figure out, maybe it's just clearing his throat or whatever, but anyways, yeah. Some of the stories are X-rated. I couldn't tell you all of them.
You just put out a new album in the past year, Every Time I Roll the Dice, and I watched the video for the title track, Every Time I Roll the Dice, on YouTube the other day. Great performance by you. People check that out on YouTube. Tell me, what was your motivation behind this album? Talk about the album.
So this is I can't remember exactly how many, I've got about 20 albums, but Every Time I Roll the Dice was an idea that was given to me from Josh. I was going to go in and play with Motor City Josh and make a solo album with just a lot of my own tunes and stuff. And I don't remember exactly how it happened, but we started talking about Delbert McClinton. And I met Delbert in Alabama in 1980 with Johnny Sandlin, who produced the Rockets, and he produced the Allman Brothers. So we were with a really good producer. And Johnny said one day, we're going to see Delbert McClinton at the Birmingham Old Time Music Hall. And we're like, well, we're aware of him, but we weren't, So we went to the hotel, and we talked him up, and it was pretty funny. He says, you boys want to smoke a joint? That's one of the first things he ever said to me, and we did in his room. But anyways, we watched him that night at the Old Time Music Hall, and then came back to the studio and tried to get him on our record. But anyways, that's what Josh said. He said, why don't you just do a tribute album to him? And because you know him a little bit. And so they said, yeah, what a great idea. And it's really worked out. I got a Detroit Music Award, my first one after 15 nominations. And it's doing pretty well. And we've done 3 gigs with the band. The band that horns and backup singers. And so the inspiration was Delbert McClinton. Now, I play a lot of music like him. He's one of my favorite artists.
The Motor City Rocks 2 WLLZ vinyl release party is happening pretty soon here, October 6th at the Caju Cafe, Friday night. And the bands who are going to be on that album are performing, at least some of them. I know that you guys are performing, as well as Rhythm Corps, Derek St. Holmes, and I think Doug Podell and Brian Pastore from Adrenaline will be the host. Sounds like a great event. Tell us about this event.
Yeah, so we're on the Motor City Rocks 2. It's coming. It's already out, actually, on vinyl. And Ted Nugent's on it, Mark Farner, Rhythm Corps, Tino's Dumpster Machine, Cadillac Kids, the Reefermen, Adrenaline, and Bittersweet Alley. It's a really good album, and Doug Podell and WLOZ should be commended for this. I mean, it's going to be a really good time, so we should have everybody show up, okay?
I want to thank Dave Edwards for joining me today on Man on the Street. And people, get out October 6th at the Caju Cafe for the Motor City Rocks album. event and concert party. You're going to see a bunch of great bands. Get out there. And you can hear me Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 Eastern, 4 to 6 Pacific, on Village Radio, playing all the classic alternative music you love. And, of course, we will be back soon with another episode of Man on the Street. And people, on this show, we're going to rock. How about you?
You know my heart it was gone.